You can never imagine how crazy scientists can get with their scientific experiments. A biologist couple optimized and recombined genes, unethically incorporating human DNA in an attempt to create a new path to becoming creators themselves. Unexpectedly, as soon as the experiment began, the embryonic genes exhibited explosive growth. The entire culture dish couldn't withstand the weight and started to crack. To ensure the embryo's safety, Elsa prepared to manually repair the collapsing equipment, but as soon as she reached in, disaster struck. Clyde has to make a choice. First, he drains the solution from the petri dish and then smashes the tank to free his wife. A creature resembling an oversized, fleshy tadpole immediately began to struggle, violently breaking free from its umbilical cord and falling to the ground. Clive quickly covered it with a box and weighted down with a heavy object. Meanwhile, Elsa's hand, bitten by the creature, began to show signs of infection. She started convulsing and frothing at the mouth, the toxicity spreading faster than that of a 7-step viper. Fortunately, there was an emergency antitoxin in the lab, saving Elsa from immediate danger. Only then could they focus on dealing with the creature they had created. With the recent mishap in mind, they took extra precautions. Elsa tentatively poked the creature, and seeing no aggressive reaction, she turned it over, only to discover it was merely a shell. A bad feeling immediately surged in her heart. The newborn was lively and exhibited surprising agility. Ignoring the risks, Elsa removed her mask and gloves to bond with it. Sensing Elsa's goodwill, the creature slowly approached her. Just then, an anxious Clive forcibly removed Elsa from the lab and chastised her recklessness. In a fit of anger, Elsa released gas into the lab. The creature sensed the danger and rampaged through the lab but eventually succumbed and lay still. This scene tugged at Elsa's heartstrings from outside the lab. Only after the little monster had been bewitched did the two dare to study it with confidence and boldness. The creature had legs but no arms, and its head resembled a split walnut. The most peculiar thing about it is that it has a tail with a sting in it. In order to find an alternative way to study the monster's genes thoroughly, the couple imprisoned the little monster in their lab and sealed its tail, which it uses to attack, like caring for the baby for its food. I did not expect the monster but eat not, but especially love the beans on the ground. After tasting the sweet beans mixed with curry, the creature no longer resisted and accepted this as its primary food. This solved the biggest issue with its upkeep. Due to its unique genetics, the creature grew rapidly, reaching the size of a 7 or 8-year-old child within days. Under Elsa's careful instruction, it also became exceptionally smart and was given a very human-like name, Dren. Although Dren could not speak, it managed to spell out simple words. However, being the equivalent of a 7 or 8-year-old, Dren became especially mischievous. Meanwhile, Elsa continued to raise this new species in the lab.
Go to your place! You go to your place!
A startled assistant accidentally stumbled into the lab. Clive rushed out after him to sit down with him and have a good chat, and managed to calm the young assistant into keeping it a secret for now. While they managed external issues, Dren, startled by the newcomer, developed a continuous high fever. Unable to use human medications, the couple decided to cool it down with a cold bath first, then look for other solutions. Watching Dren struggle in the water, a dreadful thought crossed Clive's mind. Holding Dren down in the water, Clive waited until Dren was no longer moving before slowly letting go. Surprisingly, it's also an amphibian, and Dren, who has survived a major disaster, makes the mad scientist couple decide that it's a gift from heaven. Since the couple had no children, they doted on Dren excessively. Under their loving care, Dren quickly came into her own. From the upper part of the body there is not much difference with humans, only the bald head is a bit eye-catching, although there are only 4 fingers, but it does not affect the. Instead, it had extraordinarily strong beastly legs that were explosive just from their appearance, in addition to a pointed tongue. However, the most conspicuous features were still the cross-shaped pupils and the spiky tail on its back. At this time, Dren appeared similar to a human girl of 17 or 18 years, an age of naive bloom. Elsa treated it as her own daughter, often dressing it in exquisite makeup and vibrant clothes. Once, Elsa accidentally stumbled upon portraits hidden by Dren, who suddenly became shy and turned away. However, all the portraits depicted a man, and the nose resembled Clive's. Seeing Dren run to a corner, Elsa felt a peculiar stir in her heart, because they had to conceal Dren's secret. They had moved it from the lab to a desolate farm in the suburbs, but Dren, on his first journey here, reveals a feral intrigue, the animalistic instinct to hunt that is engraved in his genes. Thus, Elsa was incredibly surprised to see Dren nurturing a living kitten. However, Elsa's decision to take the kitten wasn't solely out of protection. When Clive comes back from work, he sees Dren hiding in a corner somehow aggrieved, and instantly his heart is not in the right place. He decided to play some music to relax Dren, and indeed, seeing Clive move to the rhythm cheered her up. Seeing the positive effect, Clive spontaneously decided to teach Dren to dance, and the two of them danced like lovers under the warm lights. Becoming a bit dizzy from the spinning, Clive glimpsed at Dren's pale swan-like neck and felt a moment of confusion. He quickly suppressed the impulse and left. But since this time, Dren's clueless heart has rippled, and had been known to hide in corners and watch Clive and his wife when they're in love. To manage Dren's emotions, the couple worked at the lab during the day and returned to the farm at night, but being confined in the cabin during her rebellious phase made Dren often stare at the ceiling. Ignoring it parents' questions, Dren spells out "want to go out on the table," but after being harshly rejected, Dren goes berserk, overturning the table and smashing everything around. The couple realized that Dren was becoming increasingly uncontrollable.
Dren, stop!
They quickly climbed to the rooftop, step by step approaching Dren, trying to coax it back, but just then, something incredible happened. Clive hurried forward to console it, and driven by the last shred of humanity in her genes, Dren returned to Clive's side, but seeing the two embrace, Elsa suddenly felt a bad premonition. Realizing Dren must be very lonely, she decided to give it an adult gift, thinking Dren would like it, but unexpectedly...
Oh my god!
Elsa couldn't help but slap it, and Dren immediately opened the cabin door to the long-missed sunlight. When Dren woke up again, it was tied down on a table by its human mother, because its animalistic traits were becoming more apparent, and Elsa had to intervene. As a consequence of nearly killing her, Elsa cut off Dren's tail used in the attack and immediately took it back to the lab for research. They extracted elements from this new species to cure terminal diseases, which was Elsa's original intent in creating Dren. Meanwhile, just off work, Clive saw the scene and felt compassion. However, his paternal indulgence quickly turned to primal ferocity, though he didn't notice that the particles were regrowing from Dren's severed tail. Their emotional moment was abruptly interrupted by Elsa returning, who couldn't believe what she was seeing. Afterward, Clive, like a child who had done wrong, tried to explain to Elsa, leading to a huge argument. In this matter, Clive had crossed ethical lines, but Elsa, initially determined to create Dren, had also not considered human boundaries. After arguing, they quickly identified the root of the conflict. They decided to eliminate the most primitive troublemaker, but just as they were about to take harsh action, they unexpectedly discovered that Dren had preemptively thrown herself into a well, committing suicide, a scenario Elsa and her husband had never anticipated. Their harshness turned instantly to grief. They dug a pit in the middle of the farmyard, buried Dren hastily, and burned its favorite toys and makeup box. But while Elsa was clearing out Dren's belongings, she discovered some drawings that had initially depicted Clive but now showed herself. This eerie discrepancy startled her, but before she could think about it in detail, there was a sudden cacophony of noise from outside. But it was the little assistant who arrived with the head of the lab. Apparently, the assistant, unable to bear the couple sinking deeper, had revealed their secret to the company. The officer in charge demanded that the couple hand over Dren immediately, but just as Elsa said he was too late, something unexpected happened. A few people follow the sound and realize that the person in charge is only half a body, and the culprit of it all is Dren, but it had changed significantly. Before they could react, the assistant was dragged away by the creature. The couple followed the screams to the river's edge, where they lost track of the assistant. Elsa wanted to flee far away, but Clive refused to give up on the assistant. In their struggle, both accidentally fell into the river. Clive quickly dove down to search, only to be suddenly dragged deeper into the river. After a moment, the surface was calm.
Clive!
Miraculously, Clive was unharmed, but soaking in the water chilled him to the bone. Just then, The water stirred again and the creature slowly emerged. Elsa ran for her life, but no matter how fast she ran, she couldn't escape the creature's grasp. Eventually, the beast overpowered her and pinned her down fiercely. As the creature indulged its primal instincts, Clive appeared from behind and thrust a branch deep into its body. However, the beast's physiology differed from humans, and the minor injury was not enough to incapacitate it. Just as Clive was in grave danger, Elsa arrived just in time to save his life. She raised the stone to strike the monster with a fatal blow, but she couldn't bear to look at the child that had been with her for so long. Her moment of hesitation cost her husband's life. This tragedy was a self-inflicted disaster by the mad scientists. Yet, the story does not end here but marks the beginning of a disaster. Driven by her pursuit of science and ignorance of human nature, Elsa would not give up her hard-won scientific achievements. Now, a new generation of research subjects was growing inside her.